Yeah, you know what it is. 140 for the rapper, Billy man, shit, nigga. They take their head over, nigga. I read what Eve did to Adam. I just pray my love don't lie to me. Swing the iron like stamps, and I can't let no hoe lie to me. I don't feel these rappers, all they lies is hypocrisy. Ain't no competition, ain't no rivalry. Niggas think I'm playing, I don't hear one word they saying, this shit light work. Think Muhammad one of us, he might lose his life first. Suckle up and stay alert. Another cop can stretch the nigga. He a demon, this an exorcism. Watch I bless the nigga. Took that open blood, then you know I'm gonna get active with you. From the opposition, I see vision. Let me paint the picture. Rappers claim they spin, I ain't listening. Is it effective? If revenge was a woman, now I scope that bitch like Jake. So Tower War, we gonna run the summer. It's gonna be historical. Thought they making plays, made them niggas call the audible. Ask who run this shit, but that question is rhetorical. Bitch, I'm the one, me cookies with the oil. I'ma get them crackers, hell, should've never kidnapped my family. I can't do baby, bet I be the last nigga standing. Do a life sentence for my niggas, pray you understand me. I might put a switch on this Glock and call it young baby. How you real trigger know them dots? You a bird feeder, claiming he a demon. What's a demon to a cold leader? When he said something, I ain't hear him. This shit like it ain't on who got the gun, it's on who gon' up that fight first. I turn a bad situation to a game change. Bring soldiers from the dead, just raised up the chain. Six shots, I'ma look like Aaron Jones when I run it. Never bite the hand of Caesar, you'll never get that hand back. He bitching about 10%, I don't wanna hear none of that. He dropping sword, fuck him, just make sure you get that cover back. Look around, he ain't with us, probably cause he never was. Now my chin like you with the angels for your brothers. Everybody wanna be Richard Porter, God kill him like Alpo. Play if he want, it's laying in the trunk like Lee Malvo. A certified woman's ass nigga, I am not a toy. Hey, I with that hollow side, yeah, this the rim accord. Feel like Gullah Jack when I'm in Fayetteville, you feel your boy. Still up on my bread, still I think that's all that I do. The way I get that boy lost, they gon' start to call him Elroy. Fuck his gang, pop out on them demons like I'm Hellboy.
They killed, give me Isaiah 14 and 21. They did the same thing to my people. So you said that they put millions of my people. Yes, you said. Should have murdered.
What was I about to say? What was the last thing you said?
That there are some white people to consider decent.
I was about to say, because like sometimes you do meet those type of people, but like any type of like tribulation or like, you feel me, shit get hard, you kind of like, you kind of see a whole nother side of them sometimes. So like, but yeah, it do be some genuine Edomites, you know what I'm saying? But like when they back against the corner or like if it's time to choose, you feel me? They gonna choose their side. You feel me? So like that's just something, you know what I'm saying? You gotta understand.
Of course. And see, and that right there, the fact that when times get hard, they will choose their own side, that is something that some of our people
don't even do.
Have yet to learn. You understand? Because sometimes when times get hard, they'll run further towards our oppressor. You understand? There's actually a scripture about that. Let's see, matter of fact, let me get you to pull that scripture from.
That's something I kind of like, just from experience, like, 'cause I experienced that myself firsthand for years. You feel me? Like, it do be some genuine Edomites, but like, I know at the end of the day, like if there was a pandemic, another pandemic was to happen, and you with a white girl, and her family don't really fool with black people, but she's the different one, and she fool with you. When it comes down to not having food and not having water, and like you ain't really got access to that, but her family do. You gonna see the shift in priorities, and you feel me? Like you gonna see that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. She's gonna choose her side, and see what you're gonna see is when things like that happen, it causes division amongst the different races. You understand? I can say it causes it, but it emphasizes the clear divide. But what happens is this, and this is why it's a dangerous situation to be in, is this. You with that white girl. She's gonna feel safe. As her man, your instinct is gonna want to do whatever it is to keep her safe, to make sure she feels secure. Well, she's only gonna feel secure with her uncles. And a lot of us, we're gonna think, yeah, they do got all this land, this and that, this and that. It would be a lot easier for me to survive. But what we don't consider is that her uncle is a Klanman. Half of her family is probably in some form or fashion adopt a white supremacist mentality. You don't know it because you fucking with excuse my language. You don't know it because you're dealing with their little niece. You see what I'm saying? But you don't know in the back of their mind, they call their niece an N-word level. So the second you pull up to the ranch after economic collapse, you understand? Yeah, they're going to entertain. Then you're going to start hearing them jokes. And then it's going to get right in your face. And then next thing you know, you strung up and hung from a tree. And your baby girl that you love so much is just over there crying. And you know, probably nowhere to be found. She's probably going to walk off. What's she going to do? Go against the whole family?
That's how I felt with my big mom, man. Every function, every cookout, man, it'd be like 50, 60 of them. I'm the only black person there. That shit, you can feel the stare, especially when you get to like the grandparents and just the ones who older, and you could kind of tell they're from a different time. Like the way they look at you, you could tell. Like,
you ever seen that movie Get Out?
I seen it. Yeah,
that movie Get Out is so real. Like a lot of people don't realize how real.
I was watching that movie with, you know, I was
like that movie. If you ever at the time of your life have been involved with a white woman, and you watch that movie Get Out, what you're gonna see is your life in artistic form, and it scares you. Was you scared when you seen it?
I definitely I was like, oh snap. When I seen that the girl had did that to multiple dudes, that's what got me, because it's like all the way she was, you thought that was just her, but it was that performance.
Yeah,
like
and how quick it flipped.
Man, yo.
Yeah. It flipped real so quick.
That's what got
me. The flip was so quick, it was like it almost became a different person. You know what I'm saying? So that right there just shows you the danger in interracial marriage. There's a danger in it. You seen what happened with the sisters. You know, brothers been talking about it all throughout the school. With the sister that was married to that devil. They went out to Tanzania, out there petting lions and all that.
Yeah, we watched some Jeremiah.
Yeah. Right? And so you know what I mean, I was reading it as the story dropped. And I was like, good night. And lo and behold, it ended up coming out that sister used to bash black men on social media. You understand? And so, you know, she said that black men have become an embarrassment to her. You understand? You're embarrassed by black men. Meanwhile, this white man about to get exonerated on your murder. You understand? You like Tony Sotomayor said something so hilarious that what did he say? she said she loves a man that lets her rest in her femininity. And then he said, you also love, he said, in that same man, and said you love a man, and you also love a man to let you rest in peace. I was like, oh no.
Oh, okay.
This brother was sad.
I caught that a little late. Yeah, I
understand. All right. Well, shalom. Yahweh Shem Shabbat to all the brothers. Shalom. Yahweh Shabbat Shem Shabbat all the sisters. We are the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, started out of 1 West, 125th Street, out of Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana. What we teach is that Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the lost 12 tribes in the nation of Israel, according to the Bible, history, archaeology. If you are not in the ISUPK, you are not in the truth. You understand? And I don't care if you like that or not. If you're not in the UPK, you're not in the truth. You understand? If you learn it by yourself on the internet, you're not in the truth. You're still a Christian. You need to come to class so that we can teach you how to properly transition your life from being another Christian in the world to being what God called you to be. You understand? And we got any questions in the chat so far? Anything brothers, sisters, me broke down?
Sir. Kalakazar says some of their great-grandparents lynched our parents and taught them to hurt us just the same. On the conversation we was having.
Yeah, but that brother's saying so heavy, and taking a step further, some of her grandparents did the same thing. You understand? Like there was a story, I think who was it? Jeremiah Hyman brought it out. It was what's her name? Joy Behar. I don't even know what she does. She was some famous Edomite lady. I don't know. She was like a news anchor, or a singer. I don't know what she was. She was some famous white lady, and she said that her dad showed her one time, like where her dad's office was, right below, right outside the window in the courtyard. She saw a lynching happen. She actually saw.
Oh, I remember that. I forgot who brought that up.
John Muhammad brought it.
I remember that.
So, you know what I mean? So to take a step further, her grandparents did. You know, downtown Greenville, I don't think you've ever been to that camp spot, but where our camp spot used to be at One City Plaza.
Okay, I think I did.
Okay, so One City Plaza, that City Plaza used to be the hanging spot. So, because that used to be a mode of execution in the state of South Carolina. So when you go to jail, get charged with murder, kidnapping, some charge that got you the death penalty, they would take you to Greenville and they would execute you in Greenville. So, like for instance, I actually have an uncle, a great uncle. There was. You know, he shouldn't have did what he did, but him and another guy was going around unaliving Edomites in the Clemson area, way back, right after slavery, right after they cut slavery.
Like targeting Edomites?
Yeah, they were just targeting Edomites and off them. You know what I mean? And they was on the run for a while, just doing them in. And they had arrested them. One of them was unalived in the jail in Oconee County, but my uncle was hung in downtown Greenville. So they hung him in the City Plaza. So that same very spot where we was holding camp, they used to hang black people.
Is that why y'all chose that spot? Was it kind of like, or did you find that out after?
No. I've always known they hung black people. Because like I said, my uncle was hung. So like my family's always known about my uncle being hung downtown Greenville.
But so it's kind of poetic. Even the location, I didn't know if you knew that beforehand. Like that's why we're going to go.
Yeah, we always very methodic with how we do things in South Carolina. Well, I mean, all throughout the UK, it's not just South Carolina. All throughout the UK, but in South Carolina specifically, we like to set up, with the exception of when we go to the hood, we had camping like, where our people at, that's a different thing. We're just solely going off of the traffic of our people in those areas. But when we go places like downtown, when we go to Charlotte, Charleston, when we were having camp in Charleston, we actually had camp right across the street from the largest slave market, the largest auction block. So when you go in that auction block, now it's called City Market. So it's like a big flea market now when you go to it. But back in the day, it was like a long corridor. And you're walking in one end and it's about maybe 3 football fields long. But all throughout that, and it really helped. It's really good to visit it because it helps. It's really good to go to Charleston because it helps you to really put in perspective how massive of an operation the transatlantic slave trade was. Because they had, Charleston was like a, how you see these companies like Walmart warehouse, and they have the little bay area where all the trucks pull up and back in, dump they load, and then they go, right? So Charleston was built in a way where you have this thing called the Charleston Battery, right? And the Charleston Battery was kind of like a cove. A cove is like a cul-de-sac on the water. So it's kind of almost enclosed in, so it's like kind of like a slim entryway, but in the middle of it was like a small little island, and it had a cannon. It was like a little military fort thing there to basically defend that area if it was ever get attacked. So the slave ships were coming to the Charleston Battery and be lined up like a drive-through. And they would pull up, come around in a circle, dump the slaves, and then pull off and go off the other way. The next ship pull up, dump slaves, pull off. Next ship pull up, dump slaves, pull off. And they had this cobblestone road. You know what a cobblestone road is? So they had this cobblestone road. And the cobblestone road still exists to this day. The battery's still there. The little fort that was in that little island is still there.
I think I remember. I took I went to Charleston one time when I was in the world for a little trip with this white girl. Lucky.
No sweat.
But yeah, I seen. Did the whole what was it? They got a fort down there. It's like you got to take a ferry to go to it. What's it called? Is it Fort Jackson? I might be getting that wrong.
It might be Fort Jackson.
Fort something. They got like the cannons and stuff set up on like every wall, whatever, broken down.
Yeah, they had the Citadel out there too. The Citadel, the old Citadel now is a hotel. So people can go stay in the Citadel. But it looks like a castle. It's like a big old castle. The new Citadel is basically, it's like a military school. You understand? I'm not quite sure 100% what the Citadel is, but I know it's some type of military school. You know what I mean? I don't really know what they do. I thought you just signed to the military to go, but apparently they got some type of school. You know what I mean? But the Citadel was a fort at one point in time, and actually the old Citadel, they have this yard, and in the middle of the yard, they used to have, I think they took the statue down, but they used to have a statue of John C. Calhoun. John C. Calhoun ordered the execution of thousands of black people. You understand?
I thought I was a black man.
John C. Calhoun? Oh no.
Didn't they talk about him on the Living Color? He was the one playing to get them. Start like my penny.
That definitely wasn't John C. Calhoun.
Who was that?
John C. Calhoun was like Adolf Hitler. You understand? He was worse than Hitler.
Yeah,
you understand? Like John C. Calhoun was a genocidal maniac. Like, you understand? John C. Calhoun was famous we don't know necessarily why he's famous, but John C. Calhoun is held in such high regard because of the execution that he did. Because there was a brother by the name of Denmark Vesey. There was a brother by the name of Denmark Vesey who he was a slave. And the more you read about history, the more you learn about slavery. And the more you learn about slavery, the more you realize that we're still slaves today. You know what I'm saying? Because slaves, a lot of people don't know this, but slaves had paychecks.
Like as far as like the crops and stuff like that.
Okay, so you know how the job, you go and clock in 2 weeks you get a paycheck?
Yeah.
Slaves got the same thing. With a pay stub and everything, showing their hours, showing their deductions, showing all that. You looking confused like you never seen it.
I ain't never heard it.
Go ahead and pull it up. Pull up on the internet. Let's show the whole class.
Because I know sharecropping. That's where my mind automatically went to sharecropping. Because at that point, they kind of was given. They was kind of like working for state. They was still getting ripped off. But that's what I thought too. First, you talking about before sharecropping?
Yeah, this is before sharecropping. Look up slave pay stub. You might have to turn the screen a little bit so I can see, so I can make sure that you're looking at the right things. Slave pay stub. Go to images. All right. Click on one of the pay stubs. That I don't think that's a pay stub. I think that's like a. What does that say? Scroll up. What does that say?
It says Confederate slave payrolls shed light on lives of 19th century African American families.
And you got that on the screen so the whole class can see it?
Not yet. I was just making sure that was right. I'm about to share it now.
Yeah, let's go ahead and read. Go ahead and read that article.
That Confederate slave payrolls shed light on lives of 19th century African American families.
Understand? So keep in mind that says the Confederate slave payroll. You understand? Shed light, meaning people ain't never heard of this. This is a new thing. You understand? It's a new thing on the earth that people are discovering about slavery. All right, go ahead and read.
Washington, March 4th, 2020. For all of March 1862, a man named Ben cooked for the Confederate military stationed at Penner's Point, Virginia, earning 60 cents a day that would go to his owner. A few months later, and 65 miles away, Godfrey Willis and Anthony worked on obstructions of the Appomattox River at Fort Clifton. Then there were Grace, Sylvia, and Bella, among several women listed as laborers at South Carolina's Ashley Ferry Nicher Works in April 1864, near the names of children like Sarah, Eugenia, and Samson. They are single lines, often with no last name, on paper yellowed but legible after 155 years, among thousands scrawled in loping letters that make up nearly 6,000 Confederate slave payroll records, a trove of Civil War documents digitized for the first time by National Archives staff in a multi-year project that concluded in January. For years, the Confederate Army required owners to loan their slaves to the military. From Virginia to Florida, the enslaved conscripts were forced to dig trenches and work at ordnance factories and arsenals, mine potassium nitrate to create gunpowder, or shore up forts. The Confederate Quartermaster Department created the payrolls for slave labor on Confederate military defenses. After the end of the Civil War, the Federal War Records Office arranged, indexed, and numbered the documents. Although the sums listed beside each name on the payroll would go to their owner and not the slave who performed the labor, the documents provide a rare record of slave names. Their names were not on the census records, explains Claire Kluskins, an archivist who.
This right here, this is not really what we looking up. Let's go back. What that's talking about is during the Civil War, there were slaves that worked for the Confederate Army, but the money went to the slave owners. But there's pay stubs where it showed how much the slaves got paid. Look up. Let's see. Click on another one.
Confederate slave payrolls. You might can look on your phone maybe.
Let me see.
Let me go back. Oh, looks like it. Ain't that the one we was just on? Yeah, that's the same one. If you find one, you can share it to Nara's Facebook, and I'll be able to send it to his message.
Well, they took that thing out again. Shit. I can't find the pay stubs no more. I think this is one right here. I think this is one. This slave made about $100 a month. This is just lost it. Okay, here we go. Right, so this is one. Right.
Come on.
Now you're her. You gotta sign out to YouTube, brother. You see all them DMs. All right. I just sent it to Naira. All right, so this right here was a slave's paycheck. You understand? And this is what they made in a month. In a month of work. He worked 115 hours. See that? They got paid for 115 hours. Hold on. What was it? It was $115. So like 915 hours.
Dollars, cents.
Oh no, that's the dollar amount. So he got paid $40 for
Pay for
oh no, he got paid $40. So this is the check that went to the slave owner. Dang. So the slave got paid $40 for the month. You read that pay stub. And then $10 went to the what is that? Pay for something. Let's see, private servant course. Let's see, okay. $7 went to like fees, like to cover like his equipment needed to do the job. $2.50 for the clothing. Let's see. $20. Okay, yeah. And so then this I think this is a breakdown. Oh wait, no. So yeah, so the slave made, I can't figure out if he only made $20 or $40. The slave paid for myself $40. Okay. I see. So okay, so the slave got paid $40, but then the slave covered the cost of everything himself, meaning he only got paid $20. And altogether, let's see, no.
I see 115
So
total.
$115 is how much they got paid. $115. The subsistence.
115 subsistence. I think that's like a place to stay in.
Yeah, that would be production. Possibly, it could possibly be paid.
115 minus 6
When
minus,
you read the cursive.
oh, like a 49 minus. Wait, what? Minus 250 minus 7 minus 10 minus 40 is 5 cents. So it's 5 cents left over after all those deductions. So
I don't think those are productions. That's just totally how much you got. So he got $115 for the month. Right.
come
So he got paid $115 for the month. Now look up the cost of rent during slavery. How much the slaves paid in rent? Look at it. So keep in mind, he made $115 a month. $115, man, you can't even fill up a grocery cart with $115. up the cost of rent for a slave. Let me see.
Measuring the value of slaves.
That was a high paid slave. Because right here, I'm seeing it says, so I'm gonna read this, right? Matter of fact, did you pull up the thing where it says like in historical context, particularly the antebellum United States? Is that what you're seeing right there?
Sir.
Type this in. Type in cost of rent for a slave in the Google. All right. So you see where it says historical costs? Read that.
Let me share it.
That was a high paid slave right there. The one that we just seen. Like whatever he was doing was probably something real important. He got paid.
Probably real dangerous.
Yeah, he got paid double what skilled laborers got paid. Go ahead and read that.
The historical cost to hire or rent an enslaved person in the antebellum United States typically range from $100 to $600 per year, depending on the individual's skills, age, and location. This practice, known as hiring out, was a common way for slaveholders to generate income from their human property when they did not have immediate work for them. Historical rental rates, circa 1850 to 1860. Rental costs varied significantly based on the type of labor. Agricultural unskilled labor would get approximately $100 to $168 per year. A skilled laborer, artisans, skilled workers like blacksmiths, carpenters, or brick masons commanded much higher rates, often ranging from $500 to $600 per year. Percentage of value. Contracts were often set at roughly 10% to 20% of the enslaved person's total market value. Additional costs for the hirer. In most hiring contracts, the person renting the enslaved individual, the hirer, was responsible for more than just the base fee. Maintenance hirers typically had to provide food, clothing, and shelter, estimated at an additional $30 per year. Medical care and taxes. Contracts often specified that the hirer cover medical expenses and yearly taxes on the individual. The risk was the hirer was generally responsible for returning the enslaved person in good health at the end of the term, though legal disputes often arose regarding injury or death. Economic context. Profitability for owners renting out an enslaved person was highly profitable, often yielding a 14% to 15% annual return on their initial investment, which was higher than many other contemporary financial instruments.
Read it again.
Profitability for owners renting out an enslaved person was highly profitable, often yielding a 14% to 15% annual return of their initial investment.
So what that means is this. So a slave owner would have a slave, and that slave would work for them. But then Joe Blow wants to go build a bridge. So he would rent out my slaves and take them to build that bridge. And I would basically rent them out to him. or 15% more, you know what I mean, than what I paid the slave. So I would pocket that 15%. So say if I paid him, because it looked like slaves got paid a range of different things, but on an average, it says they got paid between $100 a year to $600 a year. You understand? So if you think about it like this,
That's a lot back then, ain't it? Or
well, you could say that, but here's the thing. They got, say if you got paid $100 a year, your rent was $30 a year. So that leaves you with $70. Now, if you know what I mean, now also too, you understand, you think about it like this. Yeah, you might get paid $100 a year, but you're gonna have a deduction. You see, because just like today, a slavery don't cover your medical costs. You see what I'm saying? They deduct out of your paycheck, and then the slavery has medical insurance, but then they deduct that out of your paycheck. You see what I'm saying?
that's true.
So they deducting that medical out of their paycheck. You understand? They deducting those things. They deducting clothing, they deducting food, they deducting rent, they deducting you out of your paycheck to the point where you might be making about $30 a year. You might be taking home, you might even be taking home less than that. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Now, we're gonna paint that in perspective, right? So I looked up the conversions of that pay. So now, if you got paid $150 a year as a slave, that's the equivalent of making $5,000 a year today.
That's nuts.
That's how little they got paid. They got paid. Think about now, if you want to think about it like this, right? What they got paid back then is equivalent to what prisoners get paid today. You see what I'm saying? Prisoners make about $5,000 to $6,000 a year, working full time.
I didn't even know that.
You see what I'm saying? That's if they're working, because there's a lot of things you have to do just to be able to work in prison. You understand? So if you out there in the farm, you working one of those farms, in prison farms, because down here they got a lot of farms. Like you see that movie Life, it's a lot of prisons out here that's just like that. You go to some of these little country bumpkin towns. Matter of fact, up in Spartanburg, there's a prison. I can't remember the name. I want to say, I can't remember the name of it. Perry Correctional Facility, or Perry State Corrections. It's a farm. They grow corn. They got a huge field of nothing but corn. And the prisoners go out there and they work in cornfields.
That's a little too close to cotton.
Yeah. Oh,
Hey, you ain't picked
no.
cotton. You picked up.
There are prison farms in South Carolina that pick cotton.
That's how they must feel. Like,
Yeah.
right.
I've met brothers that pick cotton in prison.
You're gonna have a hard time explaining that. It's like,
Yeah. They picking cotton in South Carolina. Believe it. You understand? One of my homeboys was born on a cotton field. Mom was in prison. She was picking cotton. And she went into labor in that cotton field. And it took him so long to get to her because she was so far out there in that field that she ended up having the baby right there in the cotton field.
man, like, what year was
I mean, this one, he old. He older than me.
God,
This big day. 60s.
good night.
So he old. He ain't that old. I ain't serious. Maybe like about the 60s, 70s. Somewhere around there. He like my mom in them age. You know what I'm saying? So, somewhere around in there, 50 something years old. You know what I mean? But
good man.
yeah, he was born in the cotton field. You know what I mean? He'll tell you a story about it, and you be like, I don't believe that. But then you talk to his mama. You know what I mean? She confirmed. She confirmed. You know what I mean? She was definitely in that cotton field, in prison, in that cotton field, picking cotton when she had home. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, what they making, you know, the equivalent of that is about $5,000 a year. Now, the higher end of it, so say if he was a skilled slave, like meaning like an engineer, somebody that knew how to design cotton gins, you know, top tier things, like, you know, you was a contract, you gotta read blueprints and all that.
I wonder, Samaya, how would that even happen? Like how would a slave even get into a position to even, like, because you know they was cutting fingers off for being able to read, for knowing how to count, all type of stuff. So like,
okay, so here's the thing.
And how many slaves were able to do that? Was it like
they were not getting their fingers and eyes gouged out, things like that, for knowing how to read? We knew how to read. They were doing that to us for reading the Bible.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
They would cut our eyes out for reading the Bible. And the reason why they were doing that is because of what happened in Haiti. In Haiti, Black people picked up their Bible. Said, wait a minute. It sounded like us in the book of Maccabees. We need to read about these Maccabees and see what's happening. And they read about the Maccabees, and then they fancied themselves to be the Maccabees, and they took over Haiti. Same thing happened in Jamaica. So when that happened, that's when they banned slaves from reading the Bible. Because if Black people got their hands on that Bible, they was going to rebel. And they was going to organize. And they was going to unify the same way the children of Israel do every time they pick up the Bible.
That makes sense.
So they knew that we were the 12 tribes when they came and got us. You understand? Christopher Columbus knew that the North, Central, and South American natives were Israelites before he even set sail.
They already had the Bible before they came and got us?
Who did?
The
yeah, of course.
That's crazy. How did they get it? I wonder.
Now that's a history I have not read much about. That's a history. That's a good question, but a lot of it has to do with Rome. You know, when Rome sacked Jerusalem in 70 AD, they took our records. You ever heard of the Ark of Titus?
I've heard the name Titus before.
So look up the Ark of Titus. I believe it's spelled A-R.
A-R-C.
It might be A-R-C. No, A-R-K. Type in A-R-K of Titus. And the class is still able to see what's on the screen, right?
Concept.
All right, go to images.
Animation. Yeah,
all right, so hold on, let me see. All right, so you see that picture right there? Blow that picture up as best you can.
Let me see. I'll just do it like this.
That'll work. All right, so this right here is the Ark of Titus. Right? So what you're seeing is the Romans having destroyed. Jerusalem is destroyed, and they went into our temple, and they took all of our things out of the temple. So the most clear thing you can see is the menorah.
I was about to say they ain't got nothing to do with it,
Yeah, it ain't got nothing to do with the Romans. That has everything to do with us. So they took our records, they took our stuff, our menorah, all that stuff that they took out of there is sitting in the Roman Vatican, in the Vatican right now, in the Vatican archives. All of that, the gold menorah That thing was made out of solid gold. That thing is sitting in the Roman Vatican archives right now to this day. So all of those records, they stole all of that. You understand? That's where we get what they call the Textus Recepticus, which is that's basically the Hebrew Bible. They call it the Textus Recepticus. Textus Receptus.
When you say Hebrew, which Hebrew, like real Hebrew or the?
Yeah, Hebrew. That's one for Dutch.
Okay. It does make sense. So they already knew we was out there somewhere. I wonder if it was a matter of like looking for where we were, or maybe I don't know. Maybe they knew where we were or something like that. Because if they already had records of us and they knew we was out there somewhere, especially if they already reading the Bible. Oh, shit. Like Officer Hakunaya, he said, if having a baby in a cotton field in modern day times isn't a rude awakening, I don't know what is.
That's heavy. You know what I mean? That's heavy because, you know, and really, if you think about it, I mean, we were slaves not that long ago. You know, what, 60 years, roughly?
I know my grandmother, I believe she said her grandmother came up when sharecropping was kind of like dwindling down. So that's not so long ago.
Right.
She was about 80 something herself. She passed away last December. So that wasn't too long ago. Yeah, about 100, 125, 150 years.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. We was slaves. You know what I mean? 150 years ain't that long. That's just a few generations. You know what I mean? You know, there may not be many people living today that was, I mean, yeah, ain't nobody alive today that was a slave. But I remember as a kid, my great grandfather, let me see, my great grandfather, he was full-blooded Blackfoot Indian, and he lived in like Missouri. I remember he would talk about, because a lot of people don't know that a lot of Native Americans were slaves. You know what I mean? That's a part of history a lot of people don't really know. Is that there were Native Americans that were slaves too. You know what I mean?
I know they were there. I know they were there around like with the Trail of Tears and whatnot. I went to Cherokee, North Carolina. It's just what's it called? It's like a big performance they do. If you know what I'm talking about, and they got like a stadium and they do like a whole like a sort of play or reenactment or whatever. So they talking about the Trail of Tears or whatnot. I didn't know they were slaves actually. I don't think
it's more in like the west, like in the west where it happened. You know what I mean?
You said the west, like the U.S. West.
Yeah. More like in the west where a lot of natives were slaves. You know what I mean? There was a lot of natives that were forced to build the railroads. You know what I mean? Like they paid Chinese indentured servants to come over and do it, but there were also native slaves that were forced to do it. You know what I mean? Because you got to understand like the amount of obliteration that our oppressor did to the Native Americans. You understand? There were those of us that was taken into slavery as well. You know what I mean? It's just not talked about. You know what I mean? Now it wasn't on a grand scale as Black people, but there were natives that were slaves. You understand? There were natives that were slave catchers. There were Black people that were slave catchers. You understand? Now there were natives who owned slaves. However, what a lot of people fail to realize about the native culture in owning slaves, they were essentially, I give you the best way I could describe Native American slavery is joining the ISUPK as a brother, meaning that you're going to go through a stage where nobody knows you. You're just here to work, not really talk. You're here to basically earn your place. Now, I give you orders to go out here and do this and do that, but pick this, pick that, and grow this, and work in the field. The difference is, right after I give you that order, I'm picking up that same shovel, and me and you both going out there. Now, after so long, you're invited into the tribe. So once you're invited into the tribe, you're not an outsider anymore. Now you're a member of the tribe. And now you can get ranked within that tribe. You could become the chief one day if that's what ends up happening. But you are now part of the tribe. Now, that's the difference between Black people and white people when it comes to Native culture. In Native culture, if you was an outsider, you couldn't be a part of the tribe. But Black people were not seen as outsiders by Native Americans, because Native Americans, before we got fully destroyed, we still had an identity of who we were. And we also, a lot of slaves still had an identity of who they were. A lot of natives knew who Black people were. We all knew that we were Jews and Hebrews. You understand? That's the thing that's been forgotten due to oppression, genocide. What the white man loves to do is he loves to do things like what he's doing right here, this archetypus. This right here should be a shining reminder that when the white man conquers you, he takes your records, he takes your history.
What they call it, whitewashing?
Whitewashing. You know what I mean? That's what he does. You understand? So the history of Native Americans is whitewashed. So much so that where you ask a Native American to tell you his history, he's gonna tell you some bullshit about him, about his people descending from the clouds. You know what I mean? Like, I done heard all types of different things. I done heard different things from Cherokee, just from the Cherokee tribe. I done heard different histories. You understand? But when you actually go to the records of the Cherokee, only history I really know much about is my own tribe, which is the Cherokee. You understand? In the Cherokee history, the written history, before white man showed up, before any of that, our records say that we sailed across the Great Pond, meaning that we sailed to America. We didn't walk across the Bering Strait. We didn't drop out of the sky. We didn't descend from Buffalo. You know what I mean? We didn't form out of the wind. No magic. None of that bull jiving magic that other weed smoking Native Americans, shamans came up with. You understand? But the written history of the Cherokee is that they sailed over here. Now their claim, now of course, at that time, they weren't called the Cherokee. They were one large tribe called the Muskegon tribe. I might be pronouncing that wrong. But Muskegon tribe,
Yeah,
it might be the Muskegon tribe. And the Muskegon tribe got demolished by smallpox. When the Mayflower came over here, they poisoned what they called the Hopewell Indians with smallpox, and 55 million Native Americans died on the East Coast of America.
I thought they taught that a little bit when I was in high school.
Yeah. So 55 million of them died. But the Mormons call them the Hopewell Indians. And that's just what I would call them, just because that's what Esau referred to as the Native Americans that stayed on the East Coast, referred to them as Hopewell Indians. Somebody got a question?
We got a comment from LB1 Westlands. She says, Salakia, if I may, my dad's first job was working in a field. He was born in 1968, meaning he was picking cotton in the 80s for a job in Enfield, North Carolina.
Good night. See, that type of stuff need to be documented. You understand? Because we still slaves. We just paid a little more, but guess what? Our rent is a lot more. You understand? So, you know how they got a term where you get paid a slave wage. Slaves had wages. You know what I mean? Slaves had wages. You know what I mean? But matter of fact, I was bringing all that about the slave wages to talk about Denmark Vesey. Denmark Vesey, he got his paycheck just like every other slave. And when he got his paycheck, another thing a lot of people don't know is that they had the lottery during slavery. You know how you play the lottery thing? They was running numbers during slavery.
The slaves themselves or the slave masters?
That I don't know, but I think it was something more official, like the slave masters had it set up where people could play this. You know what I mean? Otherwise, Denmark Vesey probably been locked up and they took all his money if it went on some white man type vibe. You know what I mean? So Denmark Vesey hit the lottery. When he hit the lottery, first thing he did was he went and built a church. And he built a church today. I think it's actually going into foreclosure today. It's called the AME Emmanuel Church. It's the same church that Dylan Storm Roof went into and shot those 9 people. Same church. Now, if you go to that church, we've been to that church. We actually had the honor and the pleasure to take Commander Jenny Yohana to that church. In that church, you can see the old entrance to the church. The old entrance, they built a stairwell over the entrance, but you still have that little pathway. And in that pathway, they have an inscription about Denmark Vesey and things like that. Denmark Vesey, even though he built that church, Denmark Vesey did not teach Christianity in that church. You know what he taught?
Nah, really.
Take a guess. Take a guess with Denmark Vesey. If somebody in the chat could answer, what did Denmark Vesey teach in that church? If anybody knows, go ahead and type it in.
My guess would be that we're the Jews.
Yeah, that's exactly what he taught. He taught that we were the Jews. You understand? And he was putting together all that money that he built. The church, what the church served as, was a school, much like the ISUPK, served as a school and a military base, an underground military base. Because what Denmark Vesey was doing is he was planning the largest slave rebellion in the history of the world. And he was going to unalive every Caucasian in Charleston. and free the slaves in Charleston. Now, there was a Christian, a brother, by the name of George Wilson. He loved white men. And so he goes to John C. Calhoun and say, Master John, I got to tell you about what them boys over there in that AME church is up to. John C. Calhoun like, oh yeah, well, what are they up to? And he tells them the whole plan. Tells them everything Denmark Vesey was planning to do and every person that was involved in it. And John C. Calhoun said, okay. Gave the church to George Wilson. And then had Denmark Vesey and everybody that was a member of that AME church had them hung in the Citadel Court. Citadel Courtyard. I believe it was 3,000 people that was hung in one day.
Good. 10 at a time.
You understand? So yeah, John C. Calhoun executed 3,000 people, but it was a Christian that was responsible for it. It was a Christian. So matter of fact, let me tell you something. George Wilson embodies the spirit of the IUIC. You leave it to the IUIC. Say if they make it a death penalty offense to say the white man's the devil the Bible speaks of, IUIC is calling the law on you. They call it on you. They're gonna be outside your house with that purple on, waiting on the police to get there so they can point you in your face and be like, him, officer. Him, master.
That's crazy.
You see what I'm saying? Because they believe you're supposed to call the police on people.
That's being overright. Because I believe if that was an example, that's what I would say.
They listen. They also teach you can rape your wife.
That's crazy. How do you even do that?
Listen, I'm not a sexual deviant, so I can't answer that question. You know what I'm saying? They teach you to rape your wife.
That must not be your wife. It's like
what?
That must not have been your wife then. Like, wait.
Hey, listen, surviving monogamy. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, hey, all these sisters want these monogamous relationships. You want an Israelite brother that only want one wife? Hey, that's a whole camp full of them. And you better not tell them no. You better not tell them no. Because boy, oh boy. You're going to be back in the UPK getting counsel trying to get over those rape allegations. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, you know, it's going to come out. You know what I mean? It's going to come out soon. Somebody going to be accusing some brother in that camp of rape. It's going to come out. It's going to be on the news. And you know what? Brothers and sisters are still going to join this school. Because just like how it came out that they were sleeping with transgenders, just like it came out that they beat a brother half to death, left him for dead on the sidewalk. You know what I mean? Just like how they found out Nate was a dirty cop. You understand? Personally, I feel like if you like IUIC and if you look at UPK and you think we just the devil, and you look at IUIC like they just God's chosen people, then please take your behind over to IUIC. Please. By all means. I would much rather you do it. We disgusted every time you see the stud and the fringes on our pants. And you just get disgusted when you see that everybody got on different color shirts. If it makes you vomit, by all means, go to IUIC because we don't want you here. We don't want you here. You understand? If you that weak to your woman, you know what I mean, that you only believe that a man should have one wife because of your fear for what your woman gonna think, and they got a whole camp for you right over there, right around the corner. And guess what? They all wear purple. You know what I'm saying? The lavender lad. You know what I'm saying?
So like the lavender what?
Lavender Lands. Back in the day, there was a LGBT group. They called themselves the Lavender Lads because purple, purple is the color, the official color of the gay community. Did you know that?
I didn't know.
Yeah, purple is they color, their official color. You know what I'm saying? Like they got a whole new I just found out they got a whole new rainbow flag now. I mean, it's like a whole different spectrum of colors now. It's like I ain't know pink was in the rainbow. I thought the rainbow was just red, green, blue, yellow.
Richie did.
Yeah.
That's how they call me.
You know what I mean? I thought it was red, blue, green, black, orange. You know what I mean? Now it's all different types of colors. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? But purple was the color that represented the gay community. So
I've always been taught, coming up, purple was always instilled to me in royalty. That was always the meaning. So every time I see purple, I think like royalty.
right.
But,
So
it's not no more.
well, there's some reason to that. You know, in ancient times, purple was the hardest color to make. In fact, being the hardest, meaning it's the most expensive. So if you wore purple, it was very expensive to wear. It's not like today. Today you go to a t-shirt out and they got shirts of every color you can think of, and they all the same price. But back then, you know what I mean? Back then, a lot of clothes were earth tone simply because they weren't putting dyes in their clothes. Because dyes was expensive. They had to use certain things to dye certain things. You know what I mean? Some things ended up turning out that the dyes used was poisonous. So, you know what I mean? But purple was a very hard color to replicate. So only rich men, only rich people, only kings wore purple. You know what I mean? If you wore purple, you were somebody with status, high status. You know what I'm saying? And actually, you know, it's now that I think about it, you know, it's so heavy about it's kind of a heavy perspective that just came to mind about what the Romans did to Yahushua when they crucified him. They mocked him by putting purple on him. You know, they put a purple cloak on him. You supposed to be the king, wear a purple cloak at. You know what I mean? So they threw the purple on him as a joke. You know what I mean? Which purple back then, if you was to think of a modern day equivalent, it would be like Balenciaga. You know what I mean? Louis V. You know what I mean? What's some other stuff? You know, like stuff rich people buy.
Gucci.
Who? Gucci. Yeah. You know, stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's almost like a mockery for you to wear it. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, because if you think about it, like Gucci, remember when Gucci made a blackface sweater? You remember that? Look up the Gucci blackface sweater.
Gucci apologizes for deep offense.
Look at that right there.
Good. All right.
Gucci made that.
That's crazy.
Gucci made that. That's Gucci.
That look like half a ski. That don't even look right on it.
Gucci gang.
Has removed sweater from store shelves and from its website following complaints about the garment's resemblance to blackface.
Now, do you
Isn't
think
that?
Go ahead.
I was about to say, what's the lady Drewski did the skit? She made a big thing about how if they They always do. They always throw that up. Oh, well, if we was doing blackface, it would be a problem. It's like if you want to do blackface, just go ahead and do blackface. But she made a big thing about that. But what about this?
Yeah. See, now that right there is done hits. You don't think Gucci knew that when they made that? You don't think they knew that when they made that?
They probably did.
Come on, man. They knew that.
They did.
They knew that. You understand? They knew that. You know what I mean? They knew exactly what they was doing. You know what I'm saying? Just like that jeweler that made them cuffs back in the day. You know, they made cuffs back in the day, the diamond cuffs that went around people's wrists. They had the chain hanging off of it. You don't remember that? You might be too young. Back in the day, you know, everybody was getting iced out, but you know, I think rappers wear it. But they used to have this cuff. It was like a slave. It was like a slave cuff with the chain hanging off of it. Shackle. It was like a shackle. Look up iced out shackle. Mike went out.
No, it's not went out. They said they hear me more than. Yeah, it wasn't even hooked up.
You might say the mic sound or something.
No, they can hear us, but I was just probably a little more louder. But they can hear you.
Yeah, look up the shackle from back in the day.
You said iced out shackle?
Yeah. It's like an iced out shackle. I don't know how to spell shackle. SHACKLE. Let me see. Might not be able to find it because it was old back in the day.
I'm gonna talk about what?
Click on images.
Regular shit.
Nah. Let me see if I can find a diamond. I'm trying to type in diamond shackle. I want to say Plies had one. You can't find none of the stuff I grew up with.
It's that Mandela effect.
I definitely remember. Man, I'm trying to remember what rapper had that thing on. I think it was Plies.
The Mr. T, this one says it says while many rappers wear extravagant and stuff chains, Mr. T is the most iconic figure known for wearing gold chains to symbolize the shackles on the. I think it's just a regular chain.
Scrub that joint off the internet. I don't see it nowhere. You know what? Believe it or not, I had a fake one back in the day. I had bought one off this website, and it was too small for my wrist. Couldn't even put it on my wrist. I remember it. It clasped around like this and had a chain hanging from it.
That's what I imagine when I saw. I hadn't seen it before. That's what I pictured.
I had one before because I think Plies had one.
I thought it was something.
Was it? Oh, maybe it was
Marvel
Nelly.
did too.
Maybe it was Nelly did. Whoever it was, I know it was some super big rapper from back in the day that had it. I just can't think of who it was.
Song Kendrick would have did too.
All right, so pull the scripture for me real quick. Go to Isaiah 30.
31.
Start at verse 1. So I'm pulling this scripture because of this, right? Earlier I mentioned that a lot of our people, when times get hard, we try to lean on our oppressor. You understand? We like to try to run to our oppressor for help. You know what I mean? Like we think that welfare and all these things. I'm not saying don't go get welfare. I'm just saying don't put your trust in it. You know what I mean? It's better to build that brotherhood between your brothers and sisters. You know what I mean? Keep your man. You got a man, keep him. You understand? Keep your work on try to save your family instead of seeking to destroy your family because you have our oppressor as a backup plan. You understand? You got a question?
So just opposite checking.
All right, no sweat. But you know what I mean? But you don't want to lean on our oppressor as a crutch during your time of need. Because when you put your trust in our oppressor, it's going to fail you. You understand? Just like how I was bringing up that scenario earlier about the brother dating the white woman. He thinks that he's going to be safe when that day comes, when people having to gather together and really fend for themselves. You understand? And so, with all that being said, if you think that that's where your refuge is, it's going to fail you. You understand? It is going to fail you because the white man is the devil the Bible speaks of. He is not your brother. He's not your neighbor. He is your oppressor. You understand? And that's what his sole purpose is on this earth right now, is to be your oppressor. It's to be the devil. You understand? But pretty soon it's going to flip and his purpose is going to be a slave. You understand? But read this scripture when you got it out.
It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 1. Woe to the rebellious children.
It says, woe to the rebellious children. What does woe mean?
Destruction, sir.
Right. It means destruction. You understand? So this is saying destruction to the rebellious children. Now, specifically says the rebellious children. You understand? Because we're sitting here telling you, you know what I mean? We'll tell a sister, go back to your man. Work it out with your man. But you want to throw your man out. You want to put him on child support. You want to get welfare. You want to lean on our oppressor. But the scripture says, woe to you, to the rebellious children. That's an act of rebellion. To rebel, you're rebelling against your man. You understand? Not saying every situation is this the same for every situation. You know what I mean? Because there are situations where, brothers are weak and throw their women away. Or brothers, lie with a woman and don't take that responsibility that comes with lying with a woman. That's why it's important for brothers and sisters to practice sexual discipline. You understand? But the scripture says, woe to you rebellious children. Brothers too. You know what I mean? You putting your trust in a job, putting your trust in a Bitcoin. You understand? Thinking that those things are going to give you financial freedom. You understand? What is all that for? What is all of that for? You're doing it to try to have some type of hedge of protection in that day of trouble. But here's the thing, none of that is going to protect you in that day. You understand? The scripture says, woe to you rebellious children. It don't say woe to the poor children. It don't say that. It says to the rebellious children. And that's talking about people who poor or got money. You see what I'm saying? Read on.
Saith the Lord.
Saith who?
Saith the Lord.
Saith the Most High. We're reading about what God says. You don't want to listen to me, just listen to God. Listen to the Most High. You know what I mean? Don't take my word for it. Read on.
That taketh counsel, but not of me.
To do what?
That taketh counsel, but not of me.
Now listen, man, the Lord is telling you when you're going through something, don't seek your counsel outside of the UPK. Don't do it. Don't go on the internet looking up wisdom on how to do certain things. You want to know how to do something, just come to the men of the Lord. We're going to get you right. Don't listen to some fake Israelite. You understand? If you follow another Israelite groups, you listening to some Israelite and, you know, sitting out of some shack in the Bahamas somewhere, don't listen to him. Get your counsel with the men of the Lord, the ones who actually swore an oath to stand for these scriptures, to stand for the Lord, and to stand for the law, statutes, and commandments. We took that oath, which gives us, and because we took that oath, we are by oath the mouth of the word of the Lord. You understand? Read on.
And that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit.
That do what?
That cover with a covering, but not of my spirit.
That cover with a covering, but not of my spirit. You understand? There's a spirit that the Most High has. You understand? There's a vibe that the Lord has. You understand? That don't exist nowhere but the ISUPK. It don't exist in the Christian church. It don't exist in no fake Israelite group. It exists in the UPK. This is where the truth began, and this is where it's going to end. You understand? Like Yahushua said, he says, I'm the Alpha and the Omega. You understand? He's the beginning and the end. And that rings true in the UPK. The UPK is the Alpha and the Omega of the Hebrew Israelite world. You understand? This is where it began, and this is where it's going to end. You understand? When has the Lord started with something and changed his mind and finished with something else? The Lord keeps his word. You understand? You playing with the Lord. The scriptures say, thou shalt not tempt the Lord. You understand? You shall not tempt the Lord. And you tempting the Most High when you start some fake group. You understand? You are an endangerment to the 12 tribes that are seeking the Lord. You put them in danger. You understand? You putting them in danger, and it makes me mad every time I have to hear a story of a horror story of what a brother or sister went through because of a fake Israelite group. You understand? Just for other brothers and sisters to still look at us like we don't know what we're talking about. You understand? And guess what? We know what we're talking about. And guess what? Them brothers and sisters that's getting destroyed by these other Israelite groups, they know what we're talking about. They know that what we're saying is true. You understand? Because we're the ones that have to build them back up after you destroy them. You understand? Read on. So read that again.
And that cover with, from the top.
Yeah, that cover with a covering.
And that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit.
Now that's the Christian church. You think you're safe by going to church. You understand? You're covering yourself with a covering that's not of the Lord's Spirit, meaning that you're living a lifestyle and living in a way that is not depicting a man of God. You understand? You can't look at what they got on. You can't look at how they do. You know what's crazy is I don't know if this brother was in the school. You know what I mean? And Salakia, if the brother was in the school, Salakia to that brother. You know what I'm saying? But the brother stood out to me like he was glowing in the dark because of this. I was on Shamar course, so I'm eyeballing everything. You know what I mean? I'm looking at everything, everyone, and just checking every person's spirit that's around me. Just, I'm not gonna sit here and say I had the gift to see everybody's spirit, but I'm practicing. You understand? To sit and just watch because that's how Satan gonna come in. He'll come in through other brothers' weaknesses. You understand? Even my own, I have to even check my own. You understand? I it's oftentimes I call Cap and check myself, it's like, was that unbrotherly that I did? I tell them everything that happened just to see if I'm right or wrong. You understand? And if I'm wrong, I own that. because I want to make sure that I'm in the right spirit at all times. Even with my brothers, I'm never above admitting that I'm wrong. You understand? Even if it's just for the sake of preserving the brotherhood, I'm willing to do that for my brother. You understand? So the thing is, so I'm always watching and checking brother spirits, just seeing where the danger could possibly be come from. You understand? And I see this one brother. The brother had on an ISCPK shirt, but I noticed that the brother's lineup was crispy clean. I mean, I'm talking fresh out the barber. He looked like he had the Beijing on and everything. You know what I'm saying? Clean as though that thing was sharp. You know what I'm saying? But the brother didn't have no fringes on his pants at all. Didn't have no fringes on. You know what I mean? So I don't know if maybe it was a young man, maybe it was a brother in the world who just, so if that's the case, salakia to that brother. You know what I mean? But and if that's the case, I applaud the brother for coming to the Passover. But I'm just saying that because he had that crispy clean lineup, it just stood out to me like he was it stood out to me like a spotlight. You know how you go to a concert and the whole room dark and the spotlight shining on that one person. It stood out like that, like a sore thumb don't even describe it. It stood out like this brother was in a real dark room and a beam of light was just shining on him out of the darkness. Like he was just lit up. And I even, told some of the other brothers on Shamar that I was like, you know that brother right there? They're like, nah, I don't know that brother. I'm like, something ain't right with that brother, And it just stands out to me because you can clearly see, you understand, when a brother's not in the spirit. You know what I'm saying? It shows when you're not in the spirit. You know what I mean? Like, don't think that you can come into the UPK and fool brothers in the school. You can't do it. Brothers might not say it all the time, but you shine like you glow in the dark. You know what I'm saying? You shine like the stars in the sky. Like it's hard to describe, really, but it just shows so profound. You understand? Now, as brothers who are more seasoned, we just try to just lead you more into being in the spirit. Whether you follow that counsel or not, that's on you. But it really stands out when brothers are not in the spirit. You understand? So the Lord, it's just like how you can clearly tell the difference. Sometimes you can smell that the brothers are Christian. You can smell the Christianity on them. You know what I'm saying? You can just smell it. You know what I mean? And it's like even like say like sometimes brothers come in here and they they don't even quite make it their 90 days. It's like you can almost sense that they're not gonna make the cut. Because they just not fully taking on the spirit of the Lord. They still holding on to something in the world. You understand? And it's like then you cover yourself with a covering that's not of his spirit. You know what I mean? That's what you do when you have that spirit of rebellion. You understand? It's like you might be thinking in your mind, I'm gonna do some new thing. I'm gonna do it this way, that way, that's how I'm gonna do it. But that's not the spirit of the Lord. You understand? Like so much so to where it rings so true to me that, whenever I make a garment, right? When I started getting into garments and headpieces, what I started doing is I started to look back at the old One West. Look back at the old day. I don't mean to call it the old One West like it's something different, because it was still the same spirit. And I would look back at those days and like look at these pictures on the wall and look at the garments, and I was studying. I would study the headpieces, see how did they do this? How was this folded? How was this stitched? And things and I would do things that are heavily inspired by what was done before. You understand? Instead of trying to just recreate and do something completely different. You know what I mean? Like walking around with like a like a baseball hat with a hole cut in the top. You know what I mean? That ain't Tawab. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't go to camp like that. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, you understand? That's what it means. Like you're covering yourself with a covering that's not of the Lord. It's not of the Spirit of the Lord. You understand? So you're, instead of taking on the Lord's spirit, you're taking on that spirit of America. You're taking on that spirit of Christianity. You're taking on that spirit of Islam. You're taking on that spirit of Bloods, Crips, GDs, Vice Lords. You're taking on these other things, and you know what I mean. That's the covering that you think is going to protect you. You understand? Proud to be an American. Vote for Trump. Wearing a MAGA hat. You thinking that's going to be your safety, your salvation? It's not. Read on.
That cover with a covering, but not of my spirit.
Go ahead.
That they may add sin to sin.
That they will do what?
That they may add sin to sin.
And that's what you're going to do when you're not in the spirit of the Lord. You're going to compromise. You're going to add sin to sin. You know what I mean? You're going to continue to do things like you're not just going to smoke weed. You're going to smoke weed and snort coke. You know what I mean? You're going to snort coke and smoke meth. You understand? You're going to sleep with white women and Chinese women. You're going to sleep with men. You're going to do all sorts of evil against the Lord because you trust in the oppressor who tells you can do whatever you want to do. You can sleep with whoever you want to sleep with. Before long, he's going to tell you can sleep with kids. You understand? You ever heard of that? You ever heard of this group called NAMBLA? You ever heard of that? Look that up. Let's show the class that. Look up NAMBLA. Let's show the class this, right? This is what's going on in your country. This is why you need to not put your trust in America and put your trust in the Lord, and put your trust. You know what I mean? You should run into the ISUPK and separate from America, because this is what your America is. This is what America is leading to. It's an NAMBLA. You got it?
It's at NAMBLA.org.
NAMBLA. I don't even know if I want to visit the website. You see something that's like a Wikipedia?
Yeah, the very first one.
Click on
The
it.
North American Man Boy
Ooh.
Association.
Click on that. read that. Read the title of that. Show it to the class. Hey, the brother Face was said everything. Read that to the class.
North American Man Boy Love Association.
North American Man Boy Love Association. Look at this here. Read what they about.
Is a pedophilia and pederasty advocacy organization.
Hey, what? Read it again. I ain't quite hear you.
Is a pedophilia and pederasty advocacy organization
Good night.
in the United States. It works to abolish age of consent laws.
Good night. Read that again.
It's like I said.
Read it again.
The North American Man Boy Love Association.
Now, not that the part where it says it works.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. I mean, kind of like it works to abolish age consent laws criminalizing adult sexual involvement with minors.
God damn, the white man. He is the devil of the Bible speaker, man. That's Jeffrey Epstein. You understand? This is going on. Read on.
And campaigns for the release of men who have been jailed for sexual contact with minors that did not involve what it considers coercion.
I don't know what that means. You know, I mean, I know what it means, but I don't know what they trying to say. I don't know.
It's like they saying they're pretty much like advocating for people who are in jail.
They're basically saying that if the little child wanted it, they should be able to give it to them. That's what they're basically saying.
What is coercion?
Coercion is what we do every time we get a woman. Like coercion. It's like I mean, the legal definition.
Is like
Coercion is like
things or whatever. Like
coercion is it's a more generic term for seduction. Like when you're trying to coerce someone into doing something, trying to convince.
okay.
You know what I mean? Trying to lure or draw them into it, kind of thing. Coercion. It's not flat out saying, "Hey, let's do this." It's leading them into it. Like, "Hey, you want a piece of candy?" Then give them the candy. Like, "Hey, you want another piece of candy?" "Oh, I got candy in my truck.
Okay.
Let's go to my truck.
Yeah.
Got some candy in my truck." You know what I'm saying?
Got it.
So this is an organization that's seeking to legalize this, and they've been around for a minute. What did it say? Founded when? When did it say it was founded? What was it 1979?
I can say it don't swear.
It says on the right.
Oh, Schlocky. It says founded December the 2nd, 1978. 47 years ago.
40. They've been working for 47 years to sleep with your kids. 47 years they've been grinding.
Founder David Thorstad.
You understand? Scroll down. Does it show anything, any progress they've made? I want to see what kind of progress, if any.
Controversy, Curley versus Numbao. I guess that was like a big case. Support.
People support it? Hold on, scroll up.
Allen Ginsberg, poet and father of Beat Generation, was an affiliated member of claiming to have joined the.
Who is Allen Ginsberg? It says poet, and who is this?
It's this guy right
Oh
here.
my goodness.
Erwin Allen Ginsberg.
This man,
Look at his.
this man wants to sleep with your children.
He looked like the guy off of a scary movie.
The little hairy guy.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. You understand?
Glasses all fogged up.
Good night. This man right here wants your children. Read on.
Was an affiliate.
Hold on, scroll down. Read the names. Just go down. Hit each one of the names.
Beat Generation. The Beat Generation was a literary subculture movement.
Now go to the names of the people who supported him. Who's the next person? What's that other one up underneath it? Pat something? Next paragraph.
Pat Khalifa. It's like Patrick Khalifa. They don't got a picture of him.
What does it say he is?
Formerly also known as Pat Khalifa and by the last name Khalifa Wright, is an American writer of nonfiction essays about sexuality and of erotic fiction and poetry.
All right. Who's the next person?
He's a bisexual trans man, by the way. How does that
What?
work?
Man,
Yeah,
I get so confused by the LGBT people. What did it say? Camille, is that a woman?
Camille.
Oh my goodness.
Camille Anna Paglia is an American academic, social critic, and feminist. Paglia was a professor.
Feminists, keep that in mind.
Paglia was a professor at the University of Arts in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
All right, let's leave her alone. Who's the next name?
Bill Andrew. Oh,
Oh my goodness.
it's fake. Bill Andriette is an American journalist and pro-pedophile activist.
Oh my goodness. Who's the next person? I feel like we shouldn't even be looking at this.
Salon is an American politically progressive and liberal news and opinion website created in 1995.
Wow, scroll down. What's the next person?
Persone.
No, that's not a person.
Oh,
Is
that's
that
okay.
that's all the people?
Let's see. I
Good
believe so.
night.
Thanks support.
So on my names. Who in the heck is that?
Michael Cernovich is an American right-wing social media personality and political commentator. Though he initially called himself alt-right, he disassociated from the movement after Richard Spencer became its public face.
But at one point in time, he was down with it.
Yeah.
So he's what? What's his political stance?
He is American right-wing social media personality.
So you know what? Look up right wing. Keep in mind, there's two things that just got pulled up with this that support this. That's right wing and feminism.
Any bird or modified wing.
You talking? What you talking? Wing?
Right-wing definition.
Let
Let me
right wing. I don't think that's gonna work.
Political.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. I think I just had to right wing, the section of a political party or system that advocates for free enterprise and private ownership and typically favors socially traditional ideas. The conservative group or section, a candidate from the right wing.
So right wing is, hold on, what does the part say about socially traditional?
And typically favors socially traditional ideas.
Okay, so typically, so that means that's an atypical right wing associate that supports child molestation.
So by that definition of being right wing, he should be against that.
Right.
Off the bat, right?
You're right. He was with it. You know what I mean? What does alt right mean? Look up, type in alt right. ALT. You could have kept everything.
Yeah, I feel like it's a catch with that. It definitely is something.
They said he was alt. Some people classified him as alt right wing. I don't even understand what wing and right wing, left wing, bat wing. I don't know what none of that stuff means.
Alt right or alternative right. I guess that's what it's abbreviated for. Alternative right is a far right, primarily online political movement in the U.S. that rejects mainstream conservatism and promotes white nationalist and extremist ideology.
Okay, so this is white nationalist, white power, racist. You understand? So basically, white supremacy wants to have sex with your babies. You understand? Good night. So do feminists. Feminists wants your babies, and so do the white nationalists. You understand? And guess who's running the country right now? The biggest white nationalist of all, Donald Trump. Who, in my opinion, you know, I think he slept with his daughter personally, because he used to make comments about his daughter, talking about if Melania, what's his daughter name?
Like that, I don't know. I can look it up.
Whatever his daughter name is, he said if that wasn't his daughter, he would date her.
That's crazy.
You understand? Like, come on, man.
I'm assuming on TV since
Like, I'm about to have a daughter and I can't even think like that. Like, what kind of sick mind do you have to even think like that? You understand? I guess the alt-right wing, because they want your babies.
it literally says what you were saying down here. Though. It says the movement is associated with white nationalism, racism, egalitarianism, whatever that is, and opposition to multiculturalism, feminism, and immigration.
That's crazy. You got feminism and white nationalists, you understand, working together to have sex with your babies. You understand? Let's go back to the scripture real quick, because I want to get this out before we end the class.
From the top, or
Yeah, just read it from the top.
the book of Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 1. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin.
Go ahead.
That walk down, so like that walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth.
So here's the thing, you know what I mean? This whole country is run by white nationalists. The Israelis are white nationalists. Donald Trump is a white nationalist. J.D. Vance is a white nationalist. Joe Biden is a white nationalist. Barack Obama is a white nationalist. You see where I'm going with this? You understand? These are the people that want to destroy you. They want you in check and not to have any type of political security or power at all. You understand? Because the second you have it, they lose it. So they do not want you to have it. They want you destroyed in the ghetto. They want you against one another. They want the black man to look at the Mexican man like you don't belong here. You understand? And see, here's the thing. When you love the white man, you're going to love what he loves and you're going to hate what he hates. And guess what? The white man hates your black ass. So guess what you're going to do? You're going to hate yourself too. You're going to hate your brother. You're going to hate your sister. You're going to hate your mother, your father, your homeboys, the black women in your life. You're going to hate them all because you love that devil. You understand? And guess what? And when you're in your time of need, you're not going to trust in the men of the Lord. The men of the Lord, listen, the scriptures say the righteous is an abomination unto the wicked. You understand? The way we look at homosexuality is the way homosexuals look at us. They see us as an abomination. They see the righteous as an abomination. You understand? But guess what? You're going to go down to Egypt and you're going to put your trust in Egypt. And you're going to ask for Egypt, but you ain't going to ask what the Lord thinks. Because you know that when you come before the men of the Lord, we're going to tell you, there's conviction that come with that. You understand? You have to be told what you're doing wrong. You have to learn that the way you live in your life is foul, is a sin according to God. You understand? You have to learn that God's going to unalive you if you don't get right. You understand? Well, read on.
That walk down, so like that walk to go down into Egypt and have not asked at my mouth.
And guess what? You go down there to that child support office and you put your baby daddy on child support. Listen, before you do that, call the ISUPK and ask us what we think you should do. Matter of fact, before you even lay down with that man, call the ISUPK and get counsel. Before you lay down with that sister, call the ISUPK. Like, should I crack them legs? You know what I'm saying? Before you pick up that weed, before you roll up that blunt, call the ISUPK and see if you should roll up that blunt. You understand? Before you sleep with that white girl, call the ISUPK and ask us, should you do this? Is this a wise decision? Call and get counsel. You understand? Don't go to your pastor. Your pastor gonna tell you wrong. Your pastor gonna have you aborting babies. You understand? Read on.
That walk to go down into Egypt and have not asked at my mouth.
You understand? You go down to that EBT office and think that that's a replacement for a man, you're dead wrong. You understand? Read on.
To strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh.
To do what?
To strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh.
To do what?
To strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh.
You see, listen, you don't want to come down here. You don't want to get counsel from the men of the Lord because you know that what we're going to tell you is the right thing. It's the righteous thing, and not the evil thing that you want to do down in your heart. It's not, we're not going to tell you to go and do the evil that you want to do. You understand? But you want to do that evil so bad. But guess what? The white man, he going to let you do it. And he going to set up an entire power structure of leaders for you to listen to that's going to tell you to go do it. You understand? And guess what you're going to do? You're going to put your trust, you understand, in what they telling you. You're going to strengthen yourself with, you know what I mean, under his covering. You're going to strengthen yourself that way. What you're going to do is you're going to be more convicted to do what you want to do. You understand? Like the scriptures, like what's happening is what the scriptures say the Most High did to Pharaoh when he hardened his heart. What you're going to do is you're going to harden your heart towards doing with that evil that you want to do. It's like calling up your homeboy instead of calling the priest of the Lord. But hey, man, man, I got this big, yo, at the crib, man. You know what I'm saying? She a white girl, man. She want to crack, man. I don't know. They gonna tell you, well, you better hit that. Well, you got you on them pink toes. Well, you better hit that. Now you're gonna be like, yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and hit that. You understand? But you call Officer Dr. Zaka, boy, I'm gonna tell you, run for your life. Run for your life. Because she coming for your life. You understand? Run for your life, but you don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? You want to strengthen yourself. You want your lust to ring strong. You want something. You want to hear the voice that's going to justify your lust, meaning that you're looking for that demon's voice, that voice of that demon that's going to confirm to do what it is that you lusting for. You understand? Read on.
To strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh.
Go ahead.
And to trust in the shadow of Egypt.
And to do what?
And to trust in the shadow of Egypt.
And here's the thing. You think that when you get that advice, you think that advice is going to be wisdom. And you think that wisdom that you just got is going to help you. You think it's going to be the right decision because you got advice. You got some game on how to do what you're trying to do. You understand? Read on.
Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame.
Read that again.
Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame.
Read it again.
Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame.
Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame. You understand? Just like a demon, just like that, think about that, just like that battle with that demon in your mind. You think that when you listen to that demon, once you done doing what that demon wants you to do, the demon gone just like that. Leaving you to sit there and think to yourself, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. But you did it. It's done. You understand? Now you got to take whatever come with that. Guess what? Now this white girl pregnant. You think a black woman evil? How you a baby by that white dog? You understand? White men is unalive and they baby mamas left and right. You understand? Because you think the black woman evil, man, her evil is nothing. Listen, there is no greater love on this planet than a black woman who loves a black man. You understand? I'm talking real love. You understand? Real One West love. There's no beautiful thing on this planet than that. You understand? Read on.
Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame.
Go ahead.
And the trust in the shadow of Egypt, your confusion.
Your what?
And the trust in the shadow of Egypt, your confusion.
Your confusion. So now you don't have, you thinking that you had wisdom before. Now you feeling duped. You feeling played. You thought this was the right thing to do. You thought you were supposed to put your baby daddy on child support. Now you can't keep a man. You understand? Now you're going from man to man to man to man to man to man to man, wondering why you can't find a good man. You understand? Because you had a man. You should have stayed with that man. Should have worked out the differences with that man. Should have listened to that man. You understand? Maybe you could have gave a little more of yourself to that man, or gave a little less of that yourself to that man. Because maybe some of you sisters give a little too much. Because you give, you know, when I say too much, you know what I'm saying? Give a little too much of that. You know what I'm saying? It ain't hard to please a man. That's the easiest thing in the world. You know what I'm saying? It's so easy to please us, man. Listen, man. Listen. Men, it's hard for a man to just get fed up with a woman. You ever notice that? We'll tough it out. We'll tough it out through the storms. We'll thug it out. A lot of women, man, they fickle as leaves on a tree. Wind blow too hard, they, you know what I'm saying? I'm out of here. You ain't it. You know what I'm saying? But us, man, we ride off some storms with you. You understand? But here's the thing. It's easy. It's easy for a woman to keep a man. It's easy. What's getting in your way is you're getting your counsel from Egypt and not the Spirit of the Lord. Listen, you got having problems in your relationship and you want to fix them, call the ISCPK. We'll get you right. You understand? We'll get you right. You know what I'm saying? Sisters, yeah, you might think, oh, well, he need to call because he the man. And da. Listen, the scriptures say an unbelieving husband is sanctified by a believing wife. And an unbelieving wife is sanctified by a believing husband. So, sister, if you want to save your marriage, then you call and get counsel. And we're going to save that marriage. You understand? You listen to the men of the Lord, and man, that man gonna be like, man, where you at, man? What class you watching, man? Let me tune in too, man, because you doing something totally different. You know what I mean? And I like it. It's so simple. It's so simple. You understand? It's so simple. You know what I mean? Y'all the ones complicated. You know what I'm saying? Y'all so complicated. It's better to just not even try to make y'all happy. It's better to just handle the business and just take care of the house and just stay the course. That's the best thing. They do nice things from time to time. You know what I mean? Trying to keep y'all happy, man. If I'm chasing your happiness, that's a dark hole to fall down. You know what I'm saying? And I've been there. You know what I'm saying? You get all the way down into that hole, and then you thinking, man, maybe she about to be happy next week. And then you're going to come home one day and see another man knee deep in your bitch. You know, excuse my language. But she, you know what I mean? When you try to make your woman happy, man, it just, you know what I mean? You can't make nobody happy. You know what I'm saying? What you have to do is you have to honor the other person. You understand? Honor that person. You know what I mean? And if that person ain't happy, maybe there's another issue at play. Maybe that person need to talk to somebody. Maybe that person need to get counsel. Maybe they have psychological traumas. You know, a lot of us suffer from traumas and things like that. You know what I mean? Because typically when a woman's unhappy, it ain't got really nothing to do with what you think you got to do with. You know what I mean? Maybe they might say one thing, but they might not even fully understand what's keeping them from being happy. You know what I'm saying? But you can't go chasing that. You know what I'm saying? And you can't go and getting your game and your wisdom things from people in the world and from, you know what I mean? You can't even look for salvation in that moment from Esau, from anything connected to Esau, anything connected to this kingdom, anything connected to Christianity, anything connected to that. You can't follow that game plan and think it's going to save your house or save your life. You understand? Because I'm going to tell you something. There used to be a sister that you know, she's no longer my rib now, but she told me a story one time about when she was in high school. She got pregnant when she was in high school. And, you know, when the sister told her mom she was pregnant, her mom called their pastor and told their pastor, oh, my daughter's pregnant. I don't know what to do. And the pastor told the mother to make her have an abortion. And the mother took her to the doctor and made her have that abortion. You understand? You put your trust in that in Egypt. You understand? It's going to be your shame. You understand? And it's going to be your confusion. Because that thing, I'm not going to put all her business out in the street, but having that abortion altered her body in a way that it would never be the same again. That's a part of abortion a lot of people don't talk about. There are things that can happen to your parts down there that become quite unpleasant when you have an abortion. And they stick for life. You understand? They don't go away. You know what I'm saying? So don't be that sister that gets your wisdom from that Christian church. Don't have your daughter have an abortion. If you feel like, listen, your daughter get pregnant, call the ISUPK. Call real men in the Lord. You know what a real man in the Lord would do? You can't keep that baby, no sweat. We understand. We are oppressed in this kingdom. And our oppressor got his foot on our neck so bad that our sisters are actually contemplating unaliving an unborn child. A completely heinous act. It's on the listen, and here's how I look at it, right? Black people only consider that because we're poor, because we destroyed, because we don't have inheritances and financial security like our oppressor has. We don't have that. The scriptures say we grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness. You understand? We have no clue whether we coming or going, whether we're going up or down. We could build up all this to this generation and it be gone the next generation. You understand? We have no surety in America. You understand? And you know what that abortion thing reminds me of? Is that time in Israel when Rome sieged Jerusalem. And you know what siege means? Like a lot of people think siege means to run into Jerusalem and and basically take over the city. But that's not what siege means. What to siege something means to surround it. You understand? You got to surround it. You got to cut off from all resources, meaning no food is able to come in and out. So they're basically starving people to death. And our people were so oppressed and so destroyed and in such a impossible situation in Jerusalem that it led our brothers and sisters to start to cook and eat their own children just to survive. You understand? Imagine the horror that went through that land to mourn the death of your child while you eat it because you feel like you have to do that to survive. Imagine the trauma that went through those people's minds that later went into slavery with that trauma. You understand? So we understand. But as men of the Lord, even though we understand that, that's why what we're willing to do is instead of you burdening yourself with that child, bring it to us. We will raise that child. We will feed that child and clothe that child and love that child in hopes that one day you could be in a better situation to take back on the child. We're not going to keep you from your child, but we will seek to save that child's life because you may not know it. You may not think it or see it, but that child is my brother or sister. You understand? And I took an oath to save my brothers and my sisters. You understand? Read on.
For his princes were at Zoan, and his ambassadors.
So like that's the end of that. All right. So oh man, we forgot to go live on TikTok. Yeah, Salaki Maradaki. Salaki. All right, and with that being said, we the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge started out at 1 West 125th Street out of Harlem, New York, under Commander Jenny Hanna. With that, shalom.